So this is probably a pretty good game to talk about the opening in, because you've got four players here all over 1500, and we have a massive fight for the centre right at the beginning of the game, even though we all know it's extremely dangerous to allow a check from the person on your left. So blue has effectively now forced me to block that check, because if I allow it, all sorts of bad things can happen. For instance, if green, now green nearly loses on time here. I'm not sure what the story was, but he had to live with that for the rest of the game, that he'd nearly lost on time already. So if blue plays pawn to queen 4 now and I push my pawn, if green plays pawn to queen 4 and I push my queen pawn again, blue can check, and then green can take my bishop, and it's a disaster for red. So if you're going to push your queen pawn, you've got to make sure you don't allow the person on your left to check you with the bishop at the wrong moment. And there's a lot of wrong moments. So once green moves, I'm going to do something about that. Of course, that's only when your king is on, sometimes your king is on the right, sometimes it's on the left. And that makes quite a bit of difference to the game. Also, sometimes your king, when your king's on the left, it's closer to the person on your left who's your main enemy, because they can do you the most damage. So there's quite a bit of difference depending on whether your king's on the left or the right. However, I rarely castle queenside. I'm still looking for a good setup for doing that. So now that I've blocked his check, blue decides to play safe too. And yellow and green are going to stop each other from queening pawns, which is very nice. I hate it when somebody doesn't do their civic duty and doesn't stop somebody from queening when they can. So yellow knows that if he pushes the pawn again, green will push his pawn and stop the immediate queening. And I decide that I'd better push again too. Do I? No, okay, we didn't. Because I realised I still have one move. The next move I can push my queen pawn. It will still stop blue from queening. So we've all done our civic duty in stopping somebody from queening, which is a good way to begin the game. Now notice we've left on a possible bishop exchange between red and green, and we're both trusting that the other person is high enough rated not to do anything stupid, because if we exchange those bishops, the other two people effectively win a piece at that moment. However, possibly my taking his bishop is more damage, because then, for instance, yellow could take his knight. So green might want to think about playing pawn to king 3 if he's not going to take my bishop. And he does that now to prevent me playing bishop takes bishop and then yellow playing bishop takes knight check, which would have been very nasty. But now that that diagonal is blocked, I can develop my bishop to a square where it's not going to be kicked around too soon. And now the centre pawns are all going to wait for a while we get some development happening. Nobody's going to be silly enough to try and run another one. And notice that none of us are running our rook pawns, which beginners tend to do quite often. It can be very annoying for the person next to them, but it doesn't seem to be a good strategy. I'm still thinking about castling queenside, maybe playing knight to queen 4 first, but really if I castle queenside, then I am worried about him. Like blue's castled away from me, so that if I castle queenside, I'm castling towards my main enemy. Now I'm glad yellow's pushed his rook pawn, because it distracts blue a bit from attacking me. Thinking about playing up in the centre, I sort of decided if I play pawn to king 4 and blue plays queen to king 2, he would be stopping me from castling. So I decided I'd better do it now, even though I'm castling towards green. For some reason green, if green decided to attack me now, I'd be a little bit worried. But And his main threat of attack is to play knight to king's rook 2, which whenever you've fiend shadowed your bishop and castled that side, I find the main problem with doing that is that the person towards whom you've castled, if he plays knight to rook 2, he's threatening a check at any time. And even though that check's not that strong, it comes from the person on your right, which is not so important because you get to respond to it immediately. It's definitely not something I like to have happening, and I'll often move my king to rook 1 to avoid the check, but I don't see it happen that often. So I decided there's too many pieces on the queen side, and I'm going to make sure my pawns are safe. Notice blue's just attacked another one of them, but all that's happening is now is because of the activity over there, I'm deciding that I might as well push some more pawns on the queen side. And I end up with a very nice phalanx, what do you call them, a phalanx? An army of pawns, what do you call it, a regiment, a legion of pawns in the centre, which turns out to be a very good thing for much of the game. And I do eventually win this game. Whoops, didn't give you a spoiler alert there. But I think it's important that you know that so you can see that there were times when I was in trouble. There were times when people could have done nasty things to me, and I just blundered a pawn, which green can take now, and I'm not sure, I don't think he does, which is very lucky for me. All the tension builds. Will green take my king pawn? Not the end of the world to blunder a pawn, but I'm so glad he didn't take it, and I don't really know why. So now I'm very happy that I've untangled my mess that I made by blundering that pawn, and I now have beautiful pawn centre coming up. Blue's sealed the queen side to some extent, which makes me happy, and all my pieces are on the king side, so that's nice. I guess that's why green doesn't decide to attack me. It's easier to attack yellow, who's already been a bit compromised. So I love these pawn chains. Once you get a good pawn chain going, it's really hard to stop them. Sometimes they interlock with other people's pawn chains, but really rather than running one pawn to the centre, it's always better to have a few of them and have them protect each other. Decided that would sort of block the centre more than the other pawn moves, but it might have been better to wait and to have harassed blue's queen first. Sort of felt like if I got the other pawns up first, might be more chance of getting a quick queen, but it's probably a bad idea. Now green seems to have this idea that if he plays a waiting game and doesn't do anything, he'll come out ahead. So we get to annoy the blue queen. Blue seems to be, doesn't coordinate very well here. I feel like blue gets himself into trouble by not achieving anything for the next while. Now what happens with these central pawns? Notice how nobody's pushing him too fast. Excuse me. So what's happening here? Yellow's got to find a plan. Time is ticking away. Knights are not very... They're interesting pieces in four-player chess. They're quite different to what they are in normal chess. Now I'm preparing a discovered attack on the blue queen here. So I figured, make sure that blue's not going to take my pawn when I advance and the bishop attacks the blue queen. Yellow and green aren't really doing much. Blue isn't really doing much. I'm the only one who seems to have something to do, which is expand the pawn chain. Even though there's no obvious way for me to make a queen here. Plenty of obvious ways to swap pawns off in the centre, but that's not going to help much. Okay, they've castled towards each other. Now, if I was green, I would have pushed the rook pawn first and opened up my king a little bit. Not sure why he chooses to sort of push the other pawns first. Maybe it's just that he's already moved the rook pawn once. Well, I guess he would have lost his knight pawn if he pushed the rook pawn straight away. So I would have pushed the knight pawn and then the rook pawn. So the centre pawns are still locked up. Nobody can get a queen without somebody taking it. And yellow and green just moving things back and forth. Oh, green expanding here. So now I do something I think's a good move. It basically stops the rook pawn from coming up as well and sort of seals my king side a bit. And that remains sealed for most of the rest of the game. So it worked well. I was a little bit worried about green pushing his knight pawn and hitting my bishop, and especially now that blue's attacked a pawn, I'd probably have to either lose one of my central pawns or the bishop, and green pushes the other pawn. I do not know why. Gives me a chance to defend my king pawn there. And also now my bishop's got that square on in, what's that, my king's knight 5, I guess you could call it. Right, now probably I should take his bishop here, because if I let him take mine it's a bit more of a nuisance. If I'd taken his, yellow would have had a chance to do something. Would have been a better move than that, I'd say. You notice everything in mine's sort of over-defended, so it takes, there's not anything of mine that people can easily attack. And that reinforced centre makes me feel like sooner or later something's going to... I'd be surprised if I don't get a queen eventually with 3 pawns like that in the centre. Now here's where I probably should have taken him rather than just wasting a move playing there and letting him take me. And if I had taken him, yellow might have taken the knight, and in fact it would have been much better thing to do. I might have even got his bishop without him being able to recapture. I think it was wise of him to do that, because I think he realised if I took him it'd be worse. Not that he really wanted to take me. And now okay, his knight's pinned, so more swaps over that side of the board, that's good. Every time they swap a piece, it means you gain something every time your opponents swap pieces. I think that was probably the best square for the knight, because knights like having outposts protected by pawns where they can't easily be attacked. And once I get my knight to queen's bishop 4-5, then I don't have to worry about blue's rook attacking me as well. Oh no, that's right, we seal that file first. Good move. Not sure blue should have taken that. It really doesn't help him to put my knight in front of his pawn attacking his other pawn. It doesn't work out well for him. I thought these 1600 players would be better, you know. I mean, I did make it 1600 once and then I lost a lot of games in a row. Not quite sure what happened there. Maybe I just had to learn to be more careful, I don't know. I really went back down from just on 1600 to back down below 1500 actually. Nearly gave up playing for a while. It's so possible to have bad luck or just have people gang up on you for no particular reason in this game. Thought my king would be a bit safer on that square, and there's not much happening. People are playing fast, which means you've got to think ahead and come up with something you'd like to do if there's nothing more obvious that's better to do. Now, green starts really wasting time dancing around with his king here, like saying, don't worry about me, just pay attention to each other, and I don't think it really works for him. Oh, and I realise blue's just given me his pawn by moving his queen off it a moment ago. Blue blundered his pawn. Yeah, you wonder sometimes, you know, what's going on in the room where these people are playing, and when they blunder things, and they're highly rated and they blunder things. Now, it's an interesting thing that happens with my queen's bishop pawn here. Obviously he's going to win it because he's got too many pieces attacking it. But once he's won it, he has major problems moving. Oh, and with queen to pawn, that's right. Now I took blue's pawn, I cleared the way for me to be able to queen, and nobody stopped me. So blue takes my other pawn, but it leaves him with an ongoing problem because I put my queen on queen 5, and I have this skewer down to he can't move his knight because he'll get mated. And there's no easy way for him to fix this problem. And he tries a few different things, but it persists in being a bit of a problem for him. I'm really glad that green didn't find a way to protect his queen pawn and get out of that pin of his knight. Pins can be almost as much of a nuisance in 4-player chess as they are in normal chess. Skewers as well, as we shall see. And now, not sure why he did that, probably just because he had to make a move, but it works out very unfortunate for him because he's blocked his bishop's diagonal, and yellow has a bishop on that diagonal too. Yellow seems to be sort of... Okay, so he moves towards attacking green, and blue doesn't realise that that diagonal's opened again. So what do? I take a chance to grab one of yellow's pawns. I didn't really like putting my knight all the way out there, but they all seem a bit distracted, and my knight is heading for that white square in the centre to put another bit of pressure on blue's knight. I'm ganging up on his knight, and it's amazing that while all this is going on all over the place, there's still this battle going on between me and blue to see whether I can win his knight. Ooh, and with yellow's assistance that should be a lot easier. Otherwise blue may have found a way to wriggle out of it. I don't really have that many more pieces to bring into the attack. It's a good thing this isn't touch move, this game. And when you see other people recording their games, it's amazing the amount of mouse hovering you do over pieces you don't actually end up moving. So what's happening now? We're glad that yellow and green are still making aggressive gestures towards each other. Glad that green's knight moved towards yellow and not towards me. Seems like they won't leave each other alone, which is great. Well, it's me and blue have a fist fight over here as well. And how many more pieces can we put on there? What have we got on there now? Bishop, knight, rook and queen. He could defend it with his queen and then takes. Well, I could take it anyway, but it would involve a queen exchange to win a piece, so I probably wouldn't take it. I just like having all that pressure on it and the fact that it can't move. But for some reason he moved there instead of defending his piece, so now I am going to take it. So good when you have a clear plan and you don't have to think too much about what you're going to do. Blue's down to 4 pieces. I've got 7 pieces. Green's got 5 and yellow's got 4. Green would be so happy if blue and yellow would have a little fight, but it just doesn't happen. Not sure what the point of that was. And now green's in a bit of trouble over here. He's yellow's. When I took that, I didn't realise I was allowing. It was sort of a blunder allowing yellow to play rook takes queen, but yellow's running out of pieces. If he plays rook takes queen, yeah, I don't know if I would if I was yellow. Luckily, it's not that serious, but what would I do if I was blue now? I think blue gets this idea of maybe he can take my rook pawn with check, which would be definitely annoying. Possibly even allow blue and green to start a major attack on me, even though they'd have to sacrifice material to do it. I seem to be winning at the moment, so I don't want to let that happen. And if yellow had taken my queen, I might have been forced to take his rook, and then it would have been a much more even game all round. If I had been yellow, I think I would have taken it, having seen blue's plans to attack me. I think I would have joined in. So I decided to stop the check. It wasn't 100% necessary, and there were other ways to do it too. Maybe I should have just played pawn to king's bishop 4 and completely killed the idea. But my pieces are all very nicely coordinated still. Don't know why yellow didn't. Oh yeah, he couldn't just take. Yeah, he could have just taken the knight, and then he would have got the bishop as well. Oh, I see. He wanted the queen because of the points. So yellow starts to get ahead on points here. I wasn't really watching what was going on there, and if I had been, I don't know if. Yeah, not too worried about it. Wanting to get an attack going against blue, because even though blue's losing, he's still got enough pieces left, and he's sort of open to, he's got the potential to attack me and to attack my queens, and I don't want to let him do that. So yellow's now, green's now in suicide mode, having lost too many things, so blue decides he'd better participate in the attempt to kill yellow. But really yellow's fairly safe, and I don't think blue's got much chance of benefiting from that. I think he should have been defending himself and trying to do something about me. because I decide to attack blue now very soon. Maybe not this move, but the next move. So yeah, first I've got to, I'm happy cleaning up green's pawns because it means that there's more chance that I'll get to queen one of mine sometime. And it defends my pawn as well. So now blue, that was a really bad move for blue. I mean, blue's just put his queen where it can be taken if I do something nasty. So I do something nasty. I threaten a check. I do something I wouldn't have done otherwise without blue's queen being on pre there. Oh no, we threatened the rook first, okay. I forgot that I decided just to win the rook while blue's protecting his queen. Hard choice for blue. Do you give up the... he gives up the rook with check, yep. But the chances of blue participating in a checkmate with just a lone queen out there is it's not going to happen, so he shouldn't have taken his queen all the way over to the other side of the board like that. Yellow's still ahead on points, so we do have to make sure we kill him properly when we kill him. But I'm catching up to him anyway. And blue's queen's still out of play, away from his own pieces. That helps. But this is when I think I decided to really attack him. Because neither yellow nor green can really attack my queens in one move. Oh yeah, they can. Green still can. So I did one more safety move. If I played knight towards blue's king now, green could attack my queen with his rook. So I thought I'll put the queen on a safer square. See, I thought about playing knight to knight 8, is that? Knight to knight h, yeah. But we get the queen on a safer square first. Now that my queen can't be attacked by green or yellow in one move, now we can try and swap off blue's bishop, which will leave his king vulnerable in a way it hasn't been for quite a long time. Well, it hasn't been vulnerable. Blue's king's been fairly safe until now, so here we go. Are we in for... Oh, what am I thinking about? Not sure, but I ran out of time, so I considered that square, but I would really like to, if I'm going to swap off my bishop, I would like to have the opportunity to put my knight in that square, give him check basically, and because that should accelerate the attack on blue. Green thinking about attacking me, but yeah, okay, and my king's fairly safe there, so long as I get back queen back on that diagonal soon, and that will put blue in major problems. Oh, and what happened there? Oh, yellow checkmated him? How did that checkmate work? Oh, right, I'm protecting yellow's rook, so yellow got a checkmate courtesy of me. And then I didn't even see that I had queen takes rook. I just put my queen on the diagonal there so that I'm safe. So now the problem is that yellow's more than 20 points ahead of me, so he can't claim a win until we deal with blue. And by that stage I've got to have caught up enough so he's not 20 points ahead of me. So it's interesting to see what yellow does here, and he doesn't do it well, I don't think. Yellow has a chance here, he really does. He's got 2 queens and 2 rooks. He's only 2 knights less than me, but he should probably take the pawn with his rook and start threatening my king. And what does he do there? He gives away his queen to blue for no good reason and allows me to queen my pawn. So that's it now. And until then, yellow was in the game, and there was a chance that I still had to beat him before I was winning. But now it's just really clear that I'm totally winning. 3 queens, check on yellow. We can beat blue soon anyway. It's no, and blue's pretty helpless there with his king, and not much he can do to get out of it. Not against 3 queens. So the rest of the game is just cleaning up. But I'll let you watch it anyway. It's good. Now, I could have gone for yellow here. I could have tried to brought a queen into the attack and help blue. But I think I decided to mate blue first. You've got to be so careful when you're attacking a king that's in danger of getting checkmated that you don't allow somebody else to deliver the final blow and take the 20 points. Don't really want to give yellow my knight. Probably should have played knight to attack the rook with check. But I found, oh, and also I had rook takes queen, which I didn't see actually, which would have been a perfectly good move. So doing this sort of complicated things, it was, yeah, I mean obviously rook takes queen was better. This ends up swapping off a lot of pieces, and I still come out way ahead. And we get 9 points there for the queen. And yellow has a problem. He doesn't want to swap for my queen, but if he doesn't, I'm going to get his rook. So he really doesn't have a choice. If he moves his queen, I take his rook. He wouldn't like that. So now there's no other result here really than that I'm going to catch up to yellow in points, and yellow will come second. Somebody would have to majorly blunder to change that. So I decide I'll just mate yellow. I think they're pretty close to resigning now because they realise that there's only one result going to happen here. That yellow loses on time and blue resigns. So I enjoyed this game, and I hope you learnt something from my comments on the various strategies and things that you don't normally do in a 2-player game. Good luck with your 4-player chess and surviving in the jungle.